On the 28th of January 2011, it took me almost 3 hours to get to this bridge. It was attack and retreat, attack and retreat. The police and security forces were attacking the demonstrators with water cannons, with tear gas. It reeked with vinegar, one of the protective methods against tear gas. There were piping hot tear gas canisters flying around us, people fainting, throwing up, the majority shouting and saying, Silmiya, Silmiya, it's peaceful, let's keep it peaceful.
As you saw in the 18 days of ousting Mubarak, the first thing that you do when you go out on a protest in the street is you sing, you chant.
Raise your voice. Egyptian revolution will never die. All through the past 12 months, there's been a creative spark to this revolution. Graffiti artists chronicling events, singing circles of all ages, ad hoc discussion groups, and of course the frontline troops of demonstrators. And the chants continued to echo between the tents and the frontline, day in, day out.
When the very famous slogan came out, الشعب يريد إسقاط النظام, which we borrowed from Tunis, people demands regime steps down. When we borrowed that slogan, it felt so good saying it. It felt so good saying it because it just went all the way to the top. You know, you can say, we hate this, we don't like this, we don't like that, but you know what? We don't want the whole regime. Just leave, please, because it's not working.
Any chant or chants that you still remember and you still feel you need to say every day?
All of them, actually, you know. That one, الجدع جدع والجبان جبان وإحنا يا جدع قاعدين في الميدان. The brave is the brave.
The coward.
The coward is the coward. And we are the brave who's staying
in Tahrir Square.
In Tahrir Square.
How did you say it in Tahrir Square?
الجدع جدع والجبان جبان وإحنا يا جدع قاعدين في الميدان. And we are saying also, هو يمشي مش هنمشي.
He will leave, we will not.
هو يمشي مش هنمشي. هو يمشي مش هنمشي. هو
يمشي. It was amazing. After the 2 weeks, when I got back home.
You wanted to go back to Tahrir Square?
Yeah.
But you,
still I want to.
Why did you still want to go back to Tahrir Square?
I wanted to be with different people, different ideologies, respect for everyone, cleaning together, singing together, circle of discussions. I wanted that. I wanted to be a part of this for whole my life. I found it amazing.
An amazing community did indeed develop in the square during those 2 weeks in early 2011. The Choir Project, an independent collective of mainly amateur performers, singers and musicians, organized daily workshops in the week after Mubarak's resignation. After an open call for volunteers and an intensive workshop schedule, they came up with People Demand the Life of the Square. When I went to see the concert, I saw many familiar faces from Tahrir Square. Those were the same people who had camped in the square night after night, singing and chanting the very slogans that would end up in their collective composition.
Everyone there attending the workshop and the choir saw that the most important phenomena of this revolution was Tahrir Square and how life was inside it.
Cairo-based Palestinian singer and composer Tamir Abu Ghazali.
From the morning chant and then going through the hopes, the calling upon the army to save things and to be just, etc. And then the song ending with this pride of being Egyptian and pride of being there in Tahrir Square, and then insisting on the fact that we want the life of Tahrir Square to spread to all over the country.
The artistic director of the Choir Project is painter and theatre director Salam Yusri.
There were 60 participants, and the people were full of the emotions and the thoughts that gathered them during the 3 weeks of the revolution, the first wave of it. Tahrir Square is utopia because people were respecting others' privacy as much as respecting the ownership of this public space, which was a great experience because in Egypt, I think, we own nothing in the public space, but the police owns it.
The incredible events of the past year in Egypt are part of a wider revolutionary artistic renaissance that has been building up in recent years, waiting for its chance to emerge and to explode.
We are here. A million martyrs. We are here. We are here.
And if musical figures such as Sayyid Darwish are important, it is equally important to consider the place for which they wrote their revolutionary songs. In Darwish's time, they were written for the theatre as well as for demonstrations and nationalist rallies. But in Tahrir Square, his music found its perfect performance space.
I'm Sally Hamarni. I'm an architect finishing my studies in urban planning. Tahrir Square has gathered us and protected us. It has a real crucial presence in every protester's life. They felt the space had protected them, and at the same time it gives them a way to express themselves.
Tahrir Square, with the energies of the people and the will to survive what's happening and to fight back with bare hands, only rocks against weapons.
The people demand the field marshal step down.
It's very angelic, let's say, like they are like more than humans.
Tahrir Square is enormous. This is the space which gave the revolution its character in February and in the ensuing cycles of protest, although it's further spread across Egypt. But somehow, the square and the protesters there seem to feed off each other. There is a front line, but back from there is chanting, pockets of singing, discussion and debate with a festival-like atmosphere.
A city like Cairo, it's been vivid the day that it was inhabited almost, and it continues with this continuous interacting of all its components the whole time.
Funny you should say that, because what happened at Tahrir Square when I was there, I was recording a group of women singing. And now with many strict Muslims, music is a taboo, especially women singers. And for me, as a woman singer who's always had issues with, can a Muslim woman sing or not, to see secular women sitting next to women, totally covered faces, and they're all singing together. But for a place like Tahrir Square, where else would they do that?
People ousted fear. They ousted anything that would stop them to call and chant and stand up to regain their stolen rights, their hijacked countries, their votes. And that is universal.
Protesters sang not only the songs of the pioneers of resistance music in Egypt, but they also found inspiration in the events of the square, drawing on the spirit, chants and anger around them. One up-and-coming singer who attracted the attention of the Western media is Rami Isam. His song Irhal, meaning leave, was written in the early days of the revolution and incorporated chants he'd heard in the square. It felt surreal returning to Cairo last November, visiting Tahrir Square as both a spiritual pilgrim and a musician in tune with the revolution. The collective desire for liberation, for Tahrir, filled the atmosphere with passion and creativity. After a momentous day in Tahrir Square today, Field Marshal Tantawi just appeared on television and gave a speech. Again, another deja vu of how every time there'd be a massive demonstration in Tahrir Square, that night Hosni Mubarak would appear and say something. And the two people I'm about to go and meet are Egyptian poet and lyricist and activist Zain Al-Abdin Fuad, and also a daughter-like figure with him who's kindly agreed to host this meeting in her flat, Samia Jaheen. Samia is a singer, activist, and a tough Egyptian woman, and I like that. So how much do you love Samia? I see both Zain and Samia as spanning the generations of creative descent in Egypt. Samia sings with the group Iskinderella, a band that continues to perform for the protesters, more frontline activists than stars. Zain knew some of the greats who worked with Sayyid Darwish, and he also did time in prison because of his writings and activism.
I am just one of a very big band of dreamers, those who dream for the change. Writers, painters, musicians. This big troupe of dreamers started by Sayyid Darwish and Badi' Khairi in 1919, and I came in the 60s.
And for those who don't know, I would like you just to roughly tell us about the 1919 revolution, and was Sayyid Darwish at that time a figurehead for cultural nationalism?
What Sayyid Darwish and the other artists did is creating the self-esteem of the patriotic Egyptian movement. What we see is Ya Masri.
Rise, O Egyptian.
أنا مصري كريم العنصرين. And العنصرين here, it is the Muslim and the Coptic. How to be proud to be in Egypt.
Someone to talk about religious unity as far back as 1919.
Yeah, and how to be proud to be Egyptian. What the main slogan in 25th of January? ارفع راسك فوق أنت مصري.
Raise your head up high, you're an Egyptian.
Yes, this came from Sayyid Darwish.
This is what people called us chauvinistic 5 years back. When we sung a song called خليك فاكر مصر جميلة, always remember Egypt is beautiful, they would say, oh, what's wrong? We Egyptians, we have so many problems. We're rude, we're poor, we're uncivilized. It would take us hundreds of years to do anything. And our group, our friends, our band, we hated that tone. Our tone was, this is one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and we need to unite, and we need to believe in ourselves, and this is how we will become better. We won't become better by insulting each other, by telling each other we're nasty, we're uncivilized. This is not how you educate a nation, you don't need to educate them to begin with. Just give them some freedom and give them some rights, human rights, and they'll become the best they can be. And we are good. We're very good.
Samia keeps apologizing for her hoarse voice, the result of days of tear gas inhalation and hours on the phone checking on her friends. But when I ask about one revolutionary slogan that praised the army, her voice is hoarse no more.
The people and the army are one hand.
Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah. Cliche, a little bit cliche.
It wasn't just cliche, it wasn't real, it wasn't true. The army was there when Mubarak sent his camels and his horses to kill us in Tahrir. They were there, they were sitting there watching.
Really?
They even made passage.
They gave way.
They gave way. Yeah. We've been saying since February, the regime did not fall. Don't get fooled. But people were still too afraid to confront that fact. I think now it's clear to everybody.
The following morning, I head to a local cafe to have a strong cup of Turkish coffee in order to straighten my mood, as we say, but also to find out more about what's happening around me. A traditional Egyptian coffee shop is a witness to historical events, political events, cultural events. As I'm reading the screen now, it says the Egyptian Ministry of Health has stated that 20 people had been killed during confrontations